don't like. It's very poor. Go ahead, listen.
Madam Speaker, I ask for the recommittal of the items at announcement, at reports from committees, and at notices of motions given orally.
Members, the question before the House is that we have the recommittal of items that were on the agenda. We'll start at announcements and go down to public business. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk, announcements.
Also laid on the table of the House today are the following: report of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberations on the fourth supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending March 31, 2023, and the Public Procurement Amendment of First Schedule Order 2023 under the Public Procurement Act. The Auditor General's Department examination of the components of the fiscal policy paper for the financial year 2023-2024, dated February 14, 2023. And I also ask that the Auditor General Department certified appropriation account for head 26,000B, 26,000A, and 26,000 from the Ministry of National Security for the year 2017-2018 be withdrawn.
Reports from those in favor of the withdrawal of the documents on the table. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. The documents have been withdrawn. Reports from committees. Chairman of the committee.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of the House a copy of the report of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberations on the fourth supplementary estimates of expenditure for financial year ending March 31st, 2023.
Minister of Finance, there's a public procurement. Yes. No, at notices, not from committees, at notices.
Where notice the motion given already?
Yes, we are now at notices of motion.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I'll move the following motion. The Public Procurement Act, the Public Procurement Amendment of First Schedule Order 2023 Resolution. Whereas Section 4, Subsection 1 of the Procurement Act, hereinafter referred to as the Act, provides that the methods of procurement and the procurement process set out in Parts 3 and 5 respectively of the Act do not apply to any procurement, any public procurement specified in the first schedule to the Act. And whereas by virtue of Section 4, Subsection 2 of the Act, the Minister may, by order, subject to affirmative resolution, amend the first schedule to the Act, and whereas on the 16th day of February 2023, the Minister made the Public Procurement Amendment of First Schedule Order 2023, and whereas it is desirable that the Public Procurement Amendment of First Schedule Order 2023 be affirmed, now therefore be it resolved by this Honourable House as follows. 1. This resolution may be cited as the Public Procurement Amendment of First Schedule Order 2023 Resolution. 2. The Public Procurement Amendment of First Schedule Order 2023 is hereby affirmed. And Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today I'll move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Chairman of PAC, notices.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House I will move. Be it resolved that the report of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberations on the fourth supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending March 31st, 2023, which was laid on the table of the House on the 28th day of February 2023, be adopted. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Public business.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Members, the question is that there is a suspension of the standing orders to allow the enable the chairman to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Chairman.
Yeah. Madam Speaker, again, let me just thank the members of the committee, especially the clerk and the consultant who is assigned to the PAAC for making it possible for the fourth supplementary budget to be tabled today, taking a recess, having the PAAC and having the report done in record time. Madam Speaker, the fourth supplementary estimate for financial year 2022-23 of 1 trillion
right. And then
002 billion
who's going to
represents a net increase of 4.3 billion or 0.4% over the 998.242 billion approved in January 2023 when the third supplementary estimates for financial year 2022-23 was approved. The new parameters for the budget shows a 1.3% increase in the recurrent expenditure, a decline of 5.8 billion or 9.1% in capital expenditure, while public debt service remains unchanged. In her presentation, the Financial Secretary outlined the rationale for the fourth supplementary estimates for financial year 2022-23. Financial Secretary noted that the second and third supplementary estimates had included the allocations to bargaining units that had come to agreement with the government in the public sector restructuring exercise. As negotiations with outstanding bargaining units had continued and agreement had been achieved, it became necessary to increase allocations for compensations to cover these groups. Thus, the fourth supplementary estimates for 2022-23 seeking to allocate resources to enable several remaining groups that were not covered under the second and third supplementary estimates for the financial year, but have since come to agreement with the government to receive payments of the first year cost of the new GOJ compensation system, where possible in financial year 2022-23. Capital expenditure reflects an overall reduction of 5.8 billion, approximately 9% of the budget at the third supplementary estimates. The 5.8 is comprised of the amounts of various projects which will not be utilized during the remaining 4 weeks of this current fiscal year. The additional 4.3 in expenditure will be financed from higher tax revenues. We note that there were savings in the amount of 6.5 billion on the capital side of the budget due to the delay in the implementation of several projects that were budgeted for, and noted that the public investment management system was established to ensure efficiency in program executions. Financial Secretary commented that the issue was not in relation to PIMSEC, since the system ensured that plans for execution for programs were adequately outlined. The Financial Secretary explained that some of the ministries in the estimates had procurement issues, and in other instances, projects had to be restructured. Several members from your committee expressed concerns regarding the system of procurement for capital projects, with one member suggesting that the procurement guidelines be reviewed given the challenges with project delays. We were, however, assured that the rules relating to procurement in the public sector were under review. We recommended that the systems should be in place to ensure that projects budgeted for was delivered in a timely manner. Madam Speaker, here endeth our report from the PAAC. Madam Speaker, I move to close the debate and ask that the motion be approved, the report be approved.
Members, since there are no other contributors to the debate, the question before us is that the motion, the report, be brought by the chairman of the PAC be now approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. It has been approved. The report from the PAC has been approved. We're at public business.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
The question before the House is that the standing orders be suspended to enable the Minister of Finance to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it, Minister.
Madam Speaker, this is a matter involving a procurement order that was made with respect to the procurement of technical cooperation and assistance for the provision of goods and services through the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority and the government of the Republic of Singapore through the Singapore Corporation Enterprise in relation to the Jamaica Logistics Hub. So in procuring services from the government of Singapore, the order seeks to exempt the government of Singapore and its entity from the Procurement Act in the delivery of those services. And I seek, Madam Speaker, the House's agreement or approval with the order that has been laid.
Members, the question is that the motion brought by the Minister, notice of which he gave earlier, be approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I'm going to invite the House Leader to recommit at this point the item on the agenda, notices of motion given orally. Notice of motion.
Madam Speaker, I ask that the items,
Notices.
I'm sorry, that there be a recommittal of notice of motions given orally.
Members, the question before the House is that the item on the agenda, notices of motion given orally, be now recommitted. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I'll move, be it resolved, that the fourth supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending March 31st, 2023, which were laid on the table of the House on the 28th day of February 2023, be referred to the Standing Finance Committee of the whole House of Representatives, consisting of all members of the House, for consideration and report. And be it further resolved that the committee, during its deliberations, take into account the recommendations contained in the report of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberations on the fourth supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ended March 31st, 2023, which was laid on the table of the House on the 20th day of February 2023. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I'll move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Members, the question before you also is that we have the recommittal of the item public business. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister?
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Members, the question before the House is that there is a suspension of the standing orders to allow the Minister of Finance to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Minister?
Madam Speaker, I ask that the motion be approved.
Members, the question before the House is that the motion brought by the Minister of Finance be now approved. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. The motion is approved. House Leader, I'm going to invite you to ask for the suspension of the House to allow the Standing Finance Committee to meet.
Madam Speaker, I ask that the meeting of the House be suspended for the Standing Finance Committee to meet to consider the fourth supplementary estimates of expenditure for the year ending March 2023.
Members, the question before the House. The question before the House is that there's a suspension of the standing orders to enable suspension of the House to enable the Standing Finance Committee to meet. Captain, which of the mics work now? This House is now suspended. Have to come down here. We have to. This is a book. This one. You have it. Here is a book. What am I going to ask to pray? Which member am I going to ask to pray? Huh? Come, Miss Cohen, you're not even answering me. Give me a member to pray. Jamaica, where's she from? Jamaica, from which? Members, the Standing Finance Committee of the House of Representatives, consisting of all our members, is now convened. I'm going to ask the member from Hanover Western to lead us in a short prayer.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for your loving kindness. We thank you, God, that you are our leader. As we're about to convene in this fashion, we ask you to give us wisdom, give us understanding. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, member. Members, you would have remembered that earlier today, the 28th of February, 2023, we met as members of the House of Representatives and by a resolution referred the fourth supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending March 31st, 2023 to the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee of the House of Representatives for its consideration and report. The committee's report, along with the fourth supplementary estimates of expenditure for the year ending March 2023, is now before us for consideration and report back to the House. The committee is ready to start its deliberations, and I will be guided by the House Leader as to how, the acting House Leader, as to how we will proceed. House Leader?
Chairman, we will proceed in the usual format.
The usual format for me is that we take all the pages. Is that agreed?
So members will comment and then you put the pages.
House Leader gave me the option, she said, in the usual format.
Madam Speaker,
maybe we
Madam
guided
Chair,
it. Yes.
the amendment to the fourth supplementary is just one small amendment, which has been tabled, and I just put the amendments.
I therefore put the head 0,5,000 to on the 0,9,000. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Put all. I put the heads 15,000 C straight through to head 72,000 C. Those in favor?
Yes, Madam Speaker. Amendments have been laid on the table relating to the supplementary estimates. I ask that those amendments be put to the committee.
Members, the amendment as tabled. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Yes. No, I said all the pages on block. You did? I said. No, the amendments, you know, the pages. They said don't go through it. They said put from here, which is what I did, to 72C. Yes. Yes.
Suffering from a lack of development of sources. And I would have been very happy to go back home to my constituents, tell them that the Honorable Minister, who has been an excellent Minister of Finance, have heard their plea and would have made some allocation.
Seems he's a little deaf and he'll have to get his ears clear. Don't he? He's going to get his ears syringed in time.
Who are suffering, and our people have backed us up. They have abused us, they have cursed us, because these are issues that the normal, ordinary rural would want to come into the light and to have fight for. And I am making an appeal to the minister that he look at three things. I don't know if it is too late to make an amendment. Rural water, rural life, and rural roads. The other members might not be interested. I think we might be from them. But those are my comments when I'm making an appeal for an amendment making an appeal as a rural member of parliament to the minister who is a rural man himself. And he is doing well at the macro level. But somehow, hello, where were you? Should have been a possible. But somehow, the point is,
Thank you.
Madam Chair, the point is made, and I'm reminding the member that we only have 3 weeks left in this year, and so nothing can be spent even if it's allocated. Nothing that's project related. Let me finish, if you may. Next week we are in this chamber again, or not next week, tomorrow, for the budget for the year beginning April 1st. And
What is the amendment?
exactly.
The amendment that's tabled.
yes, I understand, Minister, but if you leave the capital or carry on,
That'll be something, all right.
and what you have said, and not giving those persons any hope, or the people in Springfield, that they will get water. They don't suffer from the drought of today. They suffer from a perennial drought.
So by saying point taken, what I mean, member, is that I agree that this is a priority. And in the upcoming budget, which we will begin as a House to examine beginning tomorrow for the rest of the week, provisions are in that budget for rural water. And there are provisions for rural water and for farm roads, and it will then be now for the ministry to implement, and then you have to make sure that you represent with the ministry to the allocations that are there are used in your constituency.
Member,
I believe rural
I know the
electrification
member
has allocation as well.
I know the member talks from a wealth of experience, so you know that within time you have the opportunity to canvass your minister in the various areas, as you always do, and you will get what it is. Yes, I know you will. Yeah.
No more of us from that to him or an increase in the CDM. I take it from his well-intentioned work that we will see a massive increase in the CDM.
That's not for today.
And tomorrow when the standing finance meets, I guess we will all hear from the various ministers. He's saving his voice for tomorrow. I'm not defending him. Eh? What's that? Eh?
Yeah, but
They are hearing you. They know that you will bat for them. They know. Always.
so
Minister?
I would just say, Chair, I would ask the member, Thank you, member.
Very well, member. Members, the fourth supplementary estimates. Members, the fourth supplementary estimates for the year ending March 31st, 2023 is before us with one amendment. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Members, I now put the fourth supplementary estimates with the amendment, the fourth supplementary estimates for the year ending March 31st, 2023, with one amendment before it. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. The report, therefore, on the fourth supplementary estimates for the year ending March 2023 is before me. Is it the wish of this committee that I sign it? Yes. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it, and I'm signing. Members, the Standing Finance Committee of the whole House is now adjourned. Why is Bobby so contentious for a labor right? Right. Members, the House now resumes its sitting. I am inviting the House Leader to ask for the recommittal of announcements, reports from committees, and notices of motions given orally.
Madam Speaker, I'm requesting recommittal of the items, announcements, reports from committees, and notices of motions given orally.
Members, the question before the House is that we have the recommittal of the items, announcements, reports from committees, and notices of motions given orally. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Announcements?
Also laid on the table of the House today are copies of the report of the Standing Finance Committee of the whole House of Representatives, consisting of all members of the House, on the fourth supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending March 31, 2023.
Reports from committees.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of the House a copy of the report of the Standing Finance Committee of the whole House of Representatives, consisting of all members of the House, on the fourth supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending March 31st, 2023. There being
notices of motions given orally.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give a notice at the next meeting of the House. I'll move, be it resolved, that the report of the Standing Finance Committee of the whole House of Representatives, consisting of all members of the House, on the fourth supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending March 31st, 2023, which was laid on the table of the House on the 20th day of February 2023, be adopted. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Public business.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing order to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Members, the question before the House is that the standing orders be suspended to allow the Minister to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister.
Madam Speaker, it only remains for me to thank yourself, thank all members of this House, thank the chairman of the PAAC, the members of the PAAC, for the cooperation today and collaboration, which doesn't have much precedent in terms of getting a budget tabled and passed in the same afternoon. We show that it can happen. And what's more, though, Madam Speaker, what is more important is that the public officers looking on, seeing the extraordinary effort that is being made to make the amounts available for the first year of the compensation restructuring to be paid in this fiscal year. And I want to use this forum to encourage all groups that have not yet settled to do so. The House has acted in good faith, Madam Speaker, by tabling a fourth supplementary and getting it passed in the same day in order for those payments to be made in this fiscal year. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would ask that the
members, a question before the House.
Madam Speaker, it's a debate.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Just one comment in relation to the rest of the financial year. And going back to a question that was raised in the debate on the third supplementary estimates, the matter of the 40 million that was allocated per member of parliament. I note that a letter was written to the Prime Minister seeking his support for the proposal that these funds not be restricted solely to your NWA roads, but also to include community roads. And we were promised a response. We have 4 weeks to go, and many of us have not yet submitted the recommendations because we believe that the money would be better spent on dealing with our internal community roads. So perhaps the Minister could respond to that before closing.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, the member, the allocation he speaks of is the allocation out of, I believe it was the first supplementary where $6 billion was allocated to secondary roads, and the implementation of that program, the NWA, involved members of parliament and gave each constituency an allocation of 40 million and required the member of parliament to identify the roads to be fixed. I do recall that conversation that you had with the minister responsible. I don't have an update from him, who is the Prime Minister, yes. And he was the leader of opposition. I can't speak on the matter because I've not been updated. But I understand what you're asking, and I, sympathize with the suggestion. Can I put it that way, or empathize? I think you make a good point, but I don't have a response for you, and I can't speak on behalf of the. Tomorrow we should be able to answer that question. Yes.
Minister, it would be so good because I want to endorse what the leader of opposition said, because many of us do have rural roads and the monies that we have are better spent on our interior roads now.
Yes.
So we urge you to get a response so when you come to the Standing Finance Committee, we can have some indication of that.
Fair enough,
because
Speaker.
It's very important.
Fair enough. I think it's a good point that the members raised.
Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, I ask that the motion be approved.
Members, the question before the House is that the motion brought by the Minister of Finance be approved. Those in favour? Those against? The motion has been approved. House Leader want to give notice of the adjournment, and there is a statement on the notice of adjournment. Yes, there is, so you can rise.
Madam Speaker, I ask for the recommittal of statements by ministers.
What? Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Go ahead. Is who? Hold on. Who is it? Which? Who? No, I'm not aware, Minister, that there's a statement here. I am not aware at all. Huh? Spoke to the House Leader? No? Ms. Curtis. A member rising on the notice of adjournment on something that is crucial. On the notice of adjournment, he wanted to bring something to the attention of the House. Yes, yes, we are.
Madam Speaker, perhaps I could help. Madam Speaker, perhaps I could help. The Minister responsible for water did approach me earlier to say that he wanted to make a statement on the situation of the drought. So, the minister, the member for Southeast.
Leader,
Yes.
as the Speaker of the House, I have absolutely no notice of a statement at this point. What I'm aware of on the notice of adjournment, that there is something to be brought to the attention of the House by the member.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Permission to speak from a seat other than my own. Madam Speaker, as you would have heard, and the members of the House would have heard recently, there were 2 major accidents that occurred recently. Regrettably, Madam Speaker, those 2 accidents affected members of Southeast St. Mary. 8 persons were told were tragically lost over that period, but 7 out of those 8 persons are from Southeast St. Mary. 7 out of those 8 persons. 2 from an area called Coffee Peace and Clonmel, and 5 from an area called Lunafield. Madam Speaker, the 5 young men from Lunafield age ranged from 17 to 25. Madam Speaker, as you know, and most of my colleagues here would share the same opinion, that these incidents are some of the most difficult ones to deal with as Member of Parliament. The anguish and pain that we see, sometimes we have no choice but to feel that same anguish and pain for the members of the communities. And I also want to thank my adjoining Member of Parliament from West Rural, St. Andrew, Juliet Cuthbert, who accompanied me to the one in Lunafield yesterday. Madam Speaker, what is also tragic about this particular circumstance is that these 5 young boys were all family.
One family.
And they're related to most of the persons in the Lunafield area. I want to take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, apart from just offering my condolences, is to appeal to persons who use the road. The motorists, the motorcyclists, the pedestrians who use the roads daily, to exercise due care in using the road. I mean, we were taught when we were young to stop, look, and listen in some cases. And, Madam Speaker, we have to continue to develop this attitude that the road is not just for us, but we are in fact our brother's keepers, and therefore we have to exercise due care in utilizing the road. Madam Speaker, I took the time to visit both communities, the one in Lunafield, as I mentioned yesterday, with Juliet Cuthbert, and this morning before coming to Parliament, the one in Coffee Peace and Clonmel area. And you can feel the veil of sadness over these communities. To lose someone is tragic, but to lose these young persons, Madam Speaker, is even more grave. And as a Member of Parliament, and as a Member of Parliament for these years, I stand ready to assist in whatever way I can. I brought the matter to the attention of the Honourable Minister Samuda as well, because I know as a rural Member of Parliament, and for most of my colleagues here who are rural members of Parliament, it is very difficult on these families when we have to deal with one, much less to deal with five. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I really wanted to take this to the attention of the House and to offer my public condolences to the members of family for these communities. Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, we too on this side want to join the member from South East St. Mary in expressing condolences to the family of the young men that you speak of. But Madam Speaker, last weekend was one that we would not want to see repeated for the rest of the year, because I think some 12 persons died on our roads last weekend, which is 12 families being affected. Not only the families, but their friends, their loved ones. Madam Speaker, last year we saw at least 60% of our road fatalities happening from persons who ride motorcycles. And that should be a warning to those who ride motorcycles, but for all road users. I think over 400 Jamaicans lost their lives on the roads last year. That is 400 too many. And we want to, from us on this side, and I'm sure I speak for all of us in here, to ask every road user to take time. Take time not only in how it is they drive, how it is they ride, but just think about your family that will be affected by the loss of life. I think it is for every one of us as Jamaicans to be cognizant of just how dangerous it is, but to implore those who ride motorcycle to put on your helmets, and for those who drive a motor vehicle to use their seat belts. So, Madam Speaker, we want to just express condolences not only to the family of the five, but for all those who have lost their lives yet so far this year. I think January there was a reduction in road fatalities. This weekend would have bumped up that number, and we're hoping that we take heed of what has happened already this year, and for the rest of the year that we'll see some reduction in road fatalities. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And all of us to express our condolence to the family. Death is awful, and when you have 5 persons from one family, it is really a grief that I can't imagine. However, the young men, I ask them to caution, or everybody to be aware that when you ride a motorcycle, you must have a helmet. Because if you have a helmet, you give yourselves a better chance. And it is an opportunity for us as all Jamaicans to remember that with all the shortcomings of the new Road Traffic Act, it is not there to destroy us or to cause hardship. It is there to assist us and save our lives. So I really am distressed, and I offer on behalf of all of us, our sympathies, and ask that God will surround the family and be with them, and that the members of their community is not so much up to the funeral, but afterwards when everybody is gone, that they are going to need a lot of support. Our prayers are with them, and again I urge all our motorcyclists, get a helmet and wear it. It is for the protection of ourselves. Members, I crave your indulgence, having said this now, to indicate that in any well-conducted and structured meeting, there's an agenda. And if something is being placed on the agenda, and we have had several recommittals this evening, then the person who chairs the meeting, in this instance it will be the speaker, should be aware that we're having a recommittal of an item. And we've had several recommittals this evening because we're trying to pass the fourth estimates. So, in the interest of having the Parliament kept structured, and we have sitting with us this afternoon an acting House Leader who has done extremely well. But we should be aware as members that we make sure that we assist in the process, and I ought to have been made aware as the Speaker that there is the request for the recommittal of the item statements. It is a matter that concerns all of us and our constituents, therefore I am bending, but I'm asking us all as members to be cognizant that there is an agenda, and I am going to bed in the interest of our constituents to ask the House Leader to seek.
Madam Speaker, I hear you, but I'm afraid that having allowed a statement on the adjournment, for you to go back to statement by ministers, you're going to have to adjourn the Parliament, yes, and restart it. I don't think it's permissible.
And I agree with the opposition leader. I'm going to ask you to ask for the adjournment. I can't help it. And she didn't. She did. Did you move for the adjournment? I'm advised by the I am advised by the acting House Leader that she did not move for the adjournment. So if she had not moved for the adjournment, then I will. But it just, even members, with all the discussion now, it emphasizes the point that if you want a recommittal, it ought to be done bearing in mind that you have an acting minister. You should ensure certain things were in place. Hence, we have found ourselves in this untenable situation. Opposition, since the House Leader had not asked for the adjournment, it was, I said it, though, you know. I said on the motion for adjournment. I did. I said, Ms. Curtis, I said on the motion for adjournment. It's wrong. So what am I to do? The opposition is right. Close it at the thing.
Madam Speaker, it is not contemplated for us to do any further business today. I therefore ask that the House adjourns for a date to be fixed.
Members, the question before the House is that we do adjourn for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This House is now adjourned.
Every Jamaican has the right to know what is happening in Parliament, to know when new laws are being passed, and to give their opinions on legislation before either house.
Every Jamaican has the right to see their representatives in action, making laws, holding the executive to account, representing the people, working